Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to Q&A with Qlik. Today's topic is Qlik Cloud Data Integration. My name's Troy Rainey. I help put together webinars and videos like this one. We've got a really excellent expert panel for you today. I'll just pass it around, let everyone quickly introduce themselves. How about you, Antoine?
Hey, hi everybody. I'm Antoine. I'm based in France. I'm a product manager for Qlik Cloud Data Integration, especially focusing on transformations.
Fantastic. Thank you. Brian?
Hi, everyone. Brian Jones, based in Austin, Texas, and I manage the pre-sales analytics data architects team.
Great. Damien?
Damien Edwards, Principal Analytics Data Architect, also on Brian's team. I'm based out of Dallas, Texas.
Awesome. And Dinesh?
Hey, this is Dinesh. I'm based on Canada. I'm from a technical adoption specialist team with Qlik Support.
Fantastic. Manuel?
Hi everyone, Manuel Salgado here, based out of Houston, Texas, analytics data architect, pre-sales.
Wonderful. And Ula?
Hi, I'm Ola Meyer. I'm a head of Qlik Cloud Data Movement, and I'm based in Boston area.
That's awesome. All right, we've had a few questions already submitted, so we'll kick it off with the first one. Can Qlik Cloud data integrations be used to generate QVD files for use in Qlik Sense?
So yes, Qlik Cloud Data Integration does support writing to QVD files. It supports it with the option of building data pipelines not supported for the replication use case. It is supported for the data pipeline use case when you select it.
That's great. Thank you. Next question. What is the benefit of data integration versus SQL Server Direct Access Gateway that queries the database directly in a load script? Who wants to
I'd say a
on?
primary benefit is the ability to add low-code repeatable transformation and no-code data marts that can be used both with a SQL Server target and any other data platform target. So essentially flexibility and hedging your bet so that you can add other uses for the data that you're pulling in and transforming.
Thank you. That's great. Next question. We load multiple DB tables into Qlik via Direct Access Gateway and save into QVD for reference in subsequent loads. Should we think about converting these into data integration?
I'll take that one as well. It really depends on several factors. If you have a QVD estate, it's well established and it's really serving the purposes you need, you may want to leave it alone for the time being. Now, QVDs allow data sets to be cached, reducing egress charges against your standard cloud data warehouse platforms. However, if you are building new and multi-purpose data pipelines, QCD allows them to be built rapidly and in a highly reusable manner due to the use of automated transformation logic. The caching benefits of QVDs could still be leveraged by sourcing them from highly transformed data sets built by QCDI.
Great. And these are great questions. One question just came in. What is a data lake? I guess for people who are a little unfamiliar with the concept of data lake house, data lakes, data warehouses. Who wants to address that from a high level?
I'll chime in. It's kind of a centralized repository will allow you to ingest data into either structured or unstructured data, usually using some kind of commodity storage or cloud storage. A lot of times you'll see some kind of federated layer on top, such as Delta, that's being used to basically allow you to do transformations and store data into a more structured data warehouse mart as well.
One of the common principles of it is that you're putting data, structured and unstructured, in this lake without really knowing quite how it's going to be used later down the road. So we like to say it's schema on read. So you add schema and you utilize it once you have a use case for it, rather than a warehouse where there's more structure up front and you're really doing that structure ahead of time.
And I would add also the if you look at it from the evolution perspective, the timeline, right? Warehouses came first. You had to know the schema of everything before data could go in. Then that became too rigid. Then we went to lakes, right? Which means you don't need to know anything about the schema when you put it in the lake, but then you have to figure it out as you read the data. Now we have the data lakehouse, which is trying to combine, the best of both of those worlds, right? Where you can have structured queries, but also have unstructured data available to supplement that information. So it goes along a timeline, evolutionary timeline for data management.
Thank you so much. Next question. Does data integration leverage the data gateway, or does it use an alternate connection?
I'll take this question. So in Qlik Cloud, there are two types of gateways. There are direct access gateway that is used in analytics, and the purpose of this gateway is, like, by definition, it accesses directly from the cloud via reverse secure tunnel, pulls data into Qlik memory and into the either QVDs or directly into report. Versus for data integration, there is what's called data gateway for data movement. And this is exactly in the name. That gateway is used to access data behind a firewall, to move data from the source to the destination without moving it through Qlik Cloud. So the gateway exists in both worlds, it's just different types and different use cases.
Yeah, and also just a quick adding, they both run on two different operating systems as well. The direct access runs on the Windows OS, and the data movement gateway runs on the Linux version.
Great. Appreciate that. Next question. Security features available for cloud-based databases. Who wants to address security? I know that's a common question when it comes to cloud offerings.
So I guess I'll start with that one, but of course, security has many dimensions, right? So if something's not answered, of course, you can retype the question or ask for clarification. But in the main way, we look at it as securing data, in transit and in when it's at rest, right? From the perspective of data movement, data integration, we secure data by leveraging the transport layer security, SSL, which is usually provided by the drivers. So we leverage the drivers of the systems that we're connecting to provide that security and as the data is being transferred, right? Or the APIs, if it's a source or destination that uses an API, we leverage HTTPS and the REST based APIs for that. So that I'll mention that if there's anything else. Security is a broad topic, so please ask any clarifications if that's what you're looking for or something else.
Great. Yeah, like you said, it's a broad topic, but very secure. Next question. Is it possible to read load.sav files in Qlik Cloud?
No, I don't believe we support it today.
Okay, that's fair. But it brings up an opportunity for me to discuss ideation. There's a page on Qlik Community called Ideation. You can find it under, gosh, what is it? Support, Ideation. And here's where you can recommend suggestions for feature improvements, feature requests, and see what other people have also suggested and upvote other things. So I definitely recommend checking out Ideation, and I'll post that link. But that's a good idea for ideation. Okay. Next question. When you are planning a full integration of Qlik Data Integration with Talend, sounds like it's a good opportunity to plug Qlik Connect.
Antoine, do you want to start with all the work you're doing?
Yes, exactly. So So there are many answers, many layers to these questions. I'll start with one thing that we've already released. We've taken the no-code graphical design experience that we had in Talend Pipeline Designer. That's a web UI, and you drag and drop boxes, you wire them together, and you compose a data transformation using this easy-to-use interface. And we've just added that in QCDI to create your transformations. So you were able to do data transformations using SQL, custom SQL commands. You can now decide whether you want to continue to use SQL or use what we call now transformation flows using the transformation flow designer that comes from Talend. This is available in QCDI right now for you to use. That's one part of the answer. Do you want to continue, Ola?
Sure. From another part of data integration is around data movement, where we are working on integrating stitch connectivity into Qlik Cloud. So that will give us an opportunity to expand our support matrix substantially with connectors that today are supported by Stitch.
And
Great.
I'll add something else that's part of our roadmap as well. So for some of you who may be Talend customers and Qlik customers, so we are working on integrating TMC, the Talend Management Console, that you use to operate your jobs, monitor all your workloads, and so on. TMC will be accessible from Qlik Cloud. So you will have a direct access and everything in one single pane of glass, which is your Qlik Cloud administration console.
Very cool. I see a topic that's kind of next question that's kind of on the same topic. What are the suggested use cases for Talend versus Qlik Cloud Data Integration?
I could take that. Talend really excels at meeting complex transformation and integration in the area of ETL, data quality, and application integration using REST API messaging and things like that. Supports many data sources and formats, including Parquet, Avro, JSON, relational databases, APIs, cloud apps, and many more. And really, to contrast that with QCDI, since it's a QCDI session, QCDI really excels at streaming change data capture, SaaS data pipelines, and data mart automation using push-down ELT transformation on your standard data warehouse platform. So I think at the highest level, think of Talend as being predominantly ETL-based and QCDI being ELT-based.
I appreciate that. I wanted to address a question that came in a little while ago. I have created a line chart in Qlik Sense and use the same object in Qlik NPrinting HTML report template. Then the output is not visible clearly. That's a little bit off topic. I don't know if anybody wants to address that, or if we can just recommend perhaps creating a support case or reaching out to somebody on our Qlik Support forums.
I don't think this is the right audience. Like, we are not the right people
Yeah.
to answer the analytics questions.
Yeah, we've collected a lot of experts here to talk about data integrations. However, there is a really great resource on Qlik Community. Over here on Qlik Community, you can go to the Qlik Forums, Analytics, and post a question there, probably along Qlik NPrinting or reporting service, depending on what would be most appropriate. And we've got, 220,000 members on Qlik Community that are very active, so you'll probably find a good solution there if you reach out. Okay, next question. Currently in Qlik Cloud, we use a data gateway in our load scripts to get data from our on-prem resources into Qlik Cloud. However, the data gateway is unstable. In other words, it often returns incomplete data for large data sets but not small datasets, even though it indicates no error. Is this a known issue, or is this not something you have heard of?
Again, this is the product manager for this is a direct Qlik Cloud. This is direct access gateway issue, and the product manager for that is P.O. Davidson. If there isn't, but if anything, this sounds like a support issue that must be addressed. So hopefully there is a case open with that.
Thank you for addressing that. All right, moving on. I'm currently looking to achieve real-time data from my Qlik app and Qlik Cloud. Our data is on MongoDB, and we query this data via data views on Dremio. Is data integration the correct solution for me in this scenario?
We do have the capability to read Mongo data, however, not directly into a QVD at this time. And I don't know, Ola, if that's something that is coming to take that from our client managed solution into the cloud so that we can make it into a QVD, but we would have to store it somewhere intermediate. So we could read the data from MongoDB with change data capture, stage that data in an intermediate place, and then have that be the source for the Qlik app. But
so just small correction. MongoDB support is coming. It's not available in QCDI. It will be available in September. In that point in time, you will be able, as you like before, the first question was addressing, can QCDI load data into QVDs? At this point in time, you will be able to load data from MongoDB to QVDs with the data pipeline option. You need to understand the aspects of real time here. What is the definition of real time? How frequently you want to do that? That's the consideration.
Yeah, that sounds like there's definitely a pathway there. Great, thank you. Next question. Where can one find Qlik Talend material dealing with or addressing use cases in climate or meteorology space or vertical? I feel like I've even seen some demo apps around weather and climate, but
yeah, there's definitely analytics side applications that deal with those. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not aware of any data integration customers that capture and transform that kind of data. So you may have the wrong audience for this question.
But it's all data, right? It's all possible.
Yeah. At the end of it, data depends of structure, of frequency of update, and so on. I would reach out to your contact at Qlik, to your sales rep. Maybe he can orient you on that.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, next question. Is it possible for us to charger and save QVD in the cloud and sharing resources with another technology?
Also to chart, what do you mean sharing resources? Can this be clarified by what does it mean to share resources with other technologies?
Yeah. Qlik is very system agnostic, so we tend to work pretty well with other systems. But yeah, if you could elaborate a bit, we'll see if we can get back to that one. Do you have examples of customers in Europe who will use Talend capabilities directly in Qlik Cloud?
Oh, yes, we do. Question is, I don't know if we can name them, if we are authorized to name them, but yes, we have customers in Europe that are already using the new transformation flows that we've talked about before, transformation flows within QCDI. So we have customers in Europe using it, and customers in Europe which who will use it soon as well. So the answer is yes. I'm not able to provide names though.
That's great. Thank you. Of course, the roadmap is on here. Anybody, any upcoming new features for Qlik Cloud in the next month or so? People always looking for that sneak peek. I don't know if we have, anybody has anything on the mind?
Plan to have like big splashes during Qlik Connect, and it's really like maybe we can postpone this question till then.
Yeah. Yeah, Qlik Connect is right around the corner, the beginning of June in the States. If you're able to attend, please do. And I know we have a virtual option as well, so definitely check that out. Next question. In QCDI, would you suspect that I would not face the same issue pulling on-prem data into Qlik Cloud that I do with the data gateway? The issue around incomplete large databases.
So as I said before, first of all, the fact that you're having this problem, it's a bug that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And Qlik Direct Access Gateway needs to be able to deal with that. Qlik QCDI and analytics gateways are, as also mentioned before, they're designed for different use cases. While the direct access gateway pulls data directly into your Qlik report, QCDI is more focused on moving data from source to destination. It can be QVDs, but I think you will find that that part of the technology of moving data to QVDs is more restrictive from data point of view and sizing. So I think the best way forward is to resolve the issue that we're observing right now.
Sure. Next question. How can we show live data by using Qlik Sense? Do we have any existing approach?
No.
And that brings up that question, like, what do you define as live? But
and again, this is not the audience, like we are not the right people to answer those questions.
But there is the thing as direct access query. Sorry, no, direct query in Qlik Sense. Not the right forum to go into details as to what that entails, but it does allow you to query database directly and use that as a the source for your report, your dashboard.
And just to add, we can also write data into a QVD using QCDI as well. So you can integrate some sources into QVDs that you can pull into Qlik Sense. So
if not real time, very close to it. So it's all about exactly how often you need that to be updated.
Yeah, the QVDs is a 15-minute the latency, right, the shortest one. So if that works, then we can have the dashboard report get updated every 15 minutes, or the other option is to query that database directly with a direct query.
Okay. Next question. Like in Power BI, pie or donut chart, it's possible to display the value and share of the measure without clicking on or hovering over the pie or donut chart. Is that possible in Qlik Sense? Again, we're not quite experts on the analytics side, but I would definitely say that yes, the pie and donut chart in Qlik Sense is totally possible to show data without having to hover or click on it. They have a lot of display options there. I realize that's kind of high level, but anyone want to add anything to that, or should we just move on?
Maybe they can ask the question in the community forum. I'm sure they'll get an answer.
Good point. Thank you, Antoine. Is it possible to move QVDs from different tenants? All right, so this is definitely a Qlik Cloud data question, but not quite data integrations.
Yeah. So I know there is a way to move the files between directories, but again, this is something that should be addressed by the analytics team.
Reach out to your account manager. I know we have solutions available, and depending on like when you need those moved, or if you just need the data to be read from different tenants. There's different solutions available for sure. Okay, which QDI features are included in Qlik Sense SaaS user model? So looking when Qlik Sense SaaS is often referred to now as just Qlik Cloud. So anyone want to talk about the features that are available in Qlik Cloud Data Integrations?
It depends on what tier you are on. If
Okay.
you're on enterprise tier, you should have access pretty much to everything. If you're on lower tiers, you would need, if you are interested in QCDI capabilities, you would need to buy licenses, additional QCDI access licenses.
I just
Yeah,
wanted to
there
bring
are
up
also some common, elements between in the Qlik Cloud. You have, Qlik Cloud Data Integration services and Qlik Cloud Analytics services, and you have things like the application automations that can be used in both of those. You have the catalog, the data cataloging, which is really a foundational service that services both of those things. So some of those key elements are shared across them, and they're really just different parts of the same SaaS cloud.
And I just wanted to highlight a recent Techspert talk where Tim Garrett went through and demonstrated a lot of the capabilities of Qlik Cloud Data Integration. So I posted a link where you can take a look at that and see what's possible and how it looks. And he definitely talks about those tiers as well. Okay, next question. Are dynamic charts no longer available for live data? I'm not sure if we have a good answer for that. But again, the forums on Qlik Community are a really good resource where you can post that question. Sorry, we can't address that one. What are the typical steps to be taken to migrate a customer from Qlik Sense Enterprise Client Managed to Qlik Cloud? In particular, can you explain how the data should or could be sent to Qlik Cloud and how to overcome the security confidentiality worries of the customer's IT team?
Let me start, but again, this is a great question for PO Davidson and Direct Access Gateway. This is what Direct Access, one of the reasons that Direct Access was deployed and developed is because you can actually use the data that was created, like with the Direct Access Gateway now will be supporting file as a source. So files that were generated by client managed Qlik Sense Enterprise will be able to be read and pushed to Qlik Cloud. Or another option is basically copying the scripts. If you want to just reload completely, you can copy the scripts that you're using in client managed environment. With minor adjustments, you'll be able to run them directly into Qlik Cloud. But again, this is a full, very huge topic that we invested in when we released the Direct Access Gateway. NPO would be the right person to address those questions.
Definitely. And next month, there will be a Techspert Talks demonstration where we will outline a path for people who are looking in that specific scenario to migrate from Qlik Sense Client Managed to Qlik Cloud. So keep an eye out for that. Next question. I have a connection with PostgreSQL and I need to load it automatically from time to time. I want to know if it's possible, and if it is, how I can continue to guide myself in this regard. What are the courses where I can learn more about this in Continuous Classroom?
Is this, again, loaded to where? Is it for, let's say, to QVD, to analytics, or let's say to Snowflake?
Well, I'm going to take one of those scenarios. What if the target was Snowflake?
If target was Snowflake, what we have available today is capability of for continuous change data capture of moving data from your Postgres source to the Snowflake destination using a data movement gateway. There was a question about what are the upcoming features in the next few months. In the next few months, we will be adding an option of periodic loads. So we will be able to schedule this loading changes, but without continuously running. Basically, you can run this load maybe once every 3 hours if you prefer to do so.
Great, thanks. And a comment came in from someone trying to help us out here. The comment was, QVDs can be moved from one tenant to another by using Qlik application automation and platform management blocks. So I appreciate that answer for a previous question. Next one, is there a plan to remove the dependency on the data movement gateway or application connectors? Moving data cloud to cloud seems like it shouldn't need this.
So another feature, we will be launching it, announcing it, Qlik Connect will provide an option of configuration without a gateway. The gateway was there to address security consideration. For example, if your destination is Snowflake behind private link, you will still need a gateway to be able to reach into private cloud. But if your all sources are in public cloud and all your destinations are in public cloud, we will shortly be rolling out a configuration option without a gateway in Qlik Cloud.
Very cool. See, they keep asking about roadmap stuff, and they get small little crumbs. So next question. Is it possible for Qlik Cloud Data Integration to ingest data from Snowflake?
Yes, I'll start that one. It is. You most typically think of Snowflake as a destination for QDI and QCDI. However, the QCDI pipeline has an onboard option to use registered data, which is already in Snowflake. And you can even ingest incrementally using a timestamp or a high watermark processing, and all the options for that are inside of the QCDI onboard data option.
Thank you. One question snuck into the chat. I just saw it. Is there a way to migrate existing data pipelines from other ETL tools to Qlik Cloud? Or what is the easiest way to do migration from other tools to Qlik Cloud?
I'll start with that, just kind of to piggyback off what Brian was saying. We have the ability to register data that's been ingested. So if you have existing pipelines, we can start to register, bring that data in, and then start to develop a actual ingestion mechanism, whether you're using our gateway. So we can kind of do it in steps, so you don't have to continuously move everything at one time. We can start with what you already have and then migrate you completely to using us for ingest.
Great, thanks. Next question. Are you planning generic REST API as a source for QCDI?
Yes, we do. And this is what I can say at this time.
Perfect. Next one. Is there any tooling in the pipeline which will help us migrate existing solutions from Qlik Data Integration to Qlik Cloud Data Integration? So I'm guessing we're talking about like replicate to cloud, migrating like that.
Sure. I can start. I know there are migration solutions being considered for not only replicate, but moving compose projects into QCDI pipeline projects. But the specifics of those are still TBD. I don't know if the PMs can say more.
Yeah, we have plans to support migration from your compose project to QCDI and have them in QCDI, have your automated data marts in QCDI. This plan are still in the works, so we are not able to provide more information on that. But maybe what we can mention as well is what Damien said before. For data that you've already moved to a data platform, a Snowflake or whatever, you can still use QCDI and register this data and take it from there as well. That's also an incremental way to start using QCDI.
And I would add also for those that don't know, so QCDI can, if you're using Replicate today, QDI Replicate to move your data. QCDI, of course, because it's we understand Replicate, how Replicate moves the data, you can very easily register that data and then leverage the rest of the pipeline in QCDI. Because in a lot of cases, you're not going to want to rebuild that plumbing from the source to the target, right? Just so that you can, it's the same work you already did. You don't want to do that again, right? So you can leverage what you already did and then layer on top of it the capabilities of the pipeline in QCDI.
Great.
With register data.
Next question. Is there a way to migrate existing pipelines? Oh, we already got that one. So they moved it over. All right, moving on. Where can we learn more about the details of building pipelines with transformations?
So there are many places. You can use the Qlik Learning portal, the new Qlik Learning portal, in which you have a learn menu, the Qlik homepage, and this is a good place to start. Sorry, and you'll have journeys you can follow, and this journey you learn step by step how to use the tool, learn the concept of the tools, and you will get expertise and get certifications as well if you want. We also offer hands-on workshops, and there is also the online user guide that has a lot of information in it. I would suggest you to look at that as well. And there are OAuth videos that are available as part of when you log into your Qlik tenant portal. You have an example and OAuth video you can use and learn about the features there.
Also, there's a YouTube channel that has some useful information as well from Qlik YouTube channel.
And even Qlik community, if you get stuck on a particular issue that's not really covered in the training, just ask a question in community. Lots of people will be happy to help.
All great resources. Thank you. Next question. And these are all great questions, so please keep them coming. We'll answer as many as we can. How does Qlik application automation work with data integration?
So I'll start that. So currently there's APIs that are being exposed by the Qlik Cloud Data Integration, and there are blocks in Qlik application automation that you can use to call those functions. Things like management of tasks, right? You have landing tasks, storage tasks. You want to check their status, run them, and that, start, stop, that sort of thing. So those are available within Qlik application automation, leveraging the APIs, the REST APIs for management of QCDI.
Great. And next one looks a little specific. When using REST API to get a list of properties from Hubspot, I can only seem to pull the default ones, but there are several more. Any idea how I can pull the additional records?
We probably need to look at the permissions of the application API. There may be some specific scopes specifically to the private app that you'll need to add. So we need to kind of understand what those objects are and if you need to provide more privileges to the application API.
In what product? Are we talking about data integration or are we talking about analytics?
It's a good question, but I'm assuming it's about Qlik Cloud Data Integration.
I'm not sure because it's different.
Right.
So we need to clarify that.
Sure. So maybe you can reach out to on Qlik Community or to Qlik Support and provide some more detail and see if we can help you.
It's actually not, because right now in data integration we don't support Hubspot.
Oh, really? I thought that was one of the sources.
Not
It's
yet.
on the analytics side.
Oh,
Yeah. analytics
Okay.
side. So
All right. Next question. In Talend, I'm having trouble connecting to Salesforce using an in query. Where can I find more information about the proper format for writing queries like this?
Best place to go is the Talend Studio help. And you can even, find the component, and you'll be able to link into the manual query documentation from there, which will point to those manual query options that you would need for the Salesforce inquiry.
Fantastic. Just a couple more questions left. Is the connection different if the source is PostgreSQL on Qlik Cloud or on-prem?
Well, and in the actual endpoint, you can specify if it's cloud or using when you specify the actual gateway connection. So in there's a drop down to say none, or you specify the cloud platform.
Okay, so it's all when you set it up in the wizard,
Right.
there's fields for that. Perfect. And last question that's been posted so far today. When connection from Azure SQL using OAuth, what permission do I need to configure in Entra ID so that the service principal can connect and pull data to ingest in Qlik Cloud? So very specific.
Now, this may not be specifically for QCDI, but you'll have to go in and specify the actual certificate as well as the secret portion to be able to connect to OAuth to have that multi-authentication support. So you'll have to do that within the application, and then as we support that, then we'll be able to use that for OAuth.
Great. I wanted to say thank you to this excellent expert panel. You guys have been exemplary. Oh, we got one last question coming in under the wire. This question is for Brian. Sorry, it's a bit of a joke, but what was it like being a founding member? Nice.
Well, it's actually it's quite nice. Although, fun fact, I was actually named after Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, and my father's name just happened to be James.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much to the panel, and thank you everyone for joining today. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Right.
All right, thank you.